on the Jet. I have to imagine that's a troll. There's no way they pick
it has to be, man.
Okay, there we go. You know, just get the worries out of the way. But going back to Hwin in this combination with Sean, the Sova, or apologies, the Phoenix and the Jet, they can create so much space. And what we saw today from Hwin against TSM in particular, he's been very good at cutting angles, closing the gap down on the attack, and even on the defense. So then you mix that in with Sean on the Phoenix and his run it back possibilities. I mean, there is going to be a lot of close range fights that we could probably see a lot of the shotguns come out, specifically from Hwin and probably Screwface.
No, absolutely. I'm very excited to really see Sean starting to rise up in that duelist position. He has been one of the best players in North American Valorant statistically. No matter what the form of his team is, he is always fragging, and he is always within that top 3 ACS rank of each tournament. But speaking of top ACS ranks, you know it. It's open qualifier number 3. The highest ACS player in the entire tournament was none other than Screwface, and he kept up that pace today. Let's see if the KOALAS can kind of gather up their glass slippers and continue this Cinderella run. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to go down. It's a best of 3, lower round number 1. KOALAS and GENG.
Ooh, look at this early fight that's going to happen. I love that cage. That's going to cut down that Sheriff that Ainge had. He wanted for an early long-range fight, but he doesn't end up getting it. Screwface going to try and close the gap. We said earlier, he's so good at getting in your face with these pistols, getting in with almost any gun, really. And look what GENG are doing. They're clustered back towards this A main position. They've got to rotate back. This could have been a setup from the get-go. They've got one cam. Dim Sum Boy. He's going to get the early info. He's going to try and delay, but ultimately KOALAS, or KOALAS, will have to play the retake here as GENG storm the site. Spike will go down, and if they can take forward positions, KOALAS will be in for a wild ride.
A really decent pressure over towards the long side for the KOALAS, but still GENG. Like you mentioned, that contingency plan of just running on away, but this is a double drop coverage. Michael is actually taking out to make it a third. How on earth? Anderson got his own target, but the take isn't done just yet. 2v3, and now it's Ainge. Making his way on in, doesn't have much util at all, only has a heal. The Owl Drone gonna miss out. Still, the cam gets him. That's so unfortunate. The double ping, the quadruple kill for none other than Michael. That's a 1-0 scoreline.
Yeah, and the biggest thing out of that round is that Michael's now going to have 4 out of 7 already. We're 1 round in, and this dude only needs 3 more ult charges to get the Hunter's Fury. He could very nearly get it here in this second round. Now, I think GENG, in this one in particular, it doesn't look like KOALAS will be looking to force too much into this one. If they do force, they're going to have to be very aggressive with those Stingers and Spectres, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go for those SMGs. They're instead, it's Screwface with the Bucky and 4 Sheriffs. Now, the question is, can GENG make work of these weapons? As the Sheriffs can definitely be very scary long range, but they can charge up these ults given the long range that they've got with their guns.
Oh, screw! That's a difficult reaction. Sean still got him. Now in comes Sean. Continuing his reign of terror. Michael right behind him. Good 1-2 combo, and they continue it as Sean and Michael, they grind out the 3 frags to entry their way onto the A site. It's all theirs.
And now Michael's going to be 6 out of 7 on that ult. If he can get 1 more, or even if he goes down, that's even bigger for Sean. He's getting closer to that run it back. This is not one of the best. This is not a good start for KOALAS. You've almost got 2 ults online already for GENG. They make clean work, working their way up along that cage, definitely cutting down the angle that KOALAS wanted to create themselves with those pistols. So nice and clean from GENG. They are going to try and bonus this one out. KOALAS haven't gone so deep into their pockets in that last one. I'm going to have to buy a little bit lighter here. Go for a couple of Sheriffs on 3 players, but you really can't imagine much is going to come out. And here's another opportunity for GENG to once more charge up those ult points, stabilize their economy, and see what they can get done.
A bit of a difficult investment in the round before, but there you go, yeah. 4-man stack of C-Long. I mean, you put 1 classic, it's not exactly going to do all that much damage, but then it just becomes a barrage of bullets. Well done by the KOALAS, but that's just a cheeky kill back. In the wide rotation from GENG as Anderson actually shuts down the lurk from Kusta. 2 men out through short. Cover out the entrance too. They have full site control, but KOALAS slowly on the rotation back, and they have a couple of lineups in.
Spike down. Now Michael's got the Hunter's Fury. That's important because down in a 3 versus 5, these pistols have been extremely deadly. He can back up on that Hunter's Fury if he needs to. There is a flank coming in. I don't know if they realize the timing not going to be on their favor. Screwface has got them all with their backs turned. Michael's already invested in Hunter's Fury. That's been used up now. It's Gen G. Ooh. They don't know. Screwface waiting and lurking.
Oh, Screw gonna be able to get one. Still 2 beyond the smoke. Lines him up. Screwface with 2. Anderson clears it up at the end. Oh, man. Well, the Kooky Koalas, with really nothing other than what would be classics and potentially a deagle here and there, they were able to eco out Gen G in a flawless round.
That is not exactly the way we expected that one. Gen G, it's a very good read from the get-go from Kooky Koalas. Like, they make the read over towards the C site, understanding that Gen G are more than likely going to try and force an ult orb into the hands of Sean or Michael, right, to get the run it back to 5-6 or to get Michael's Hunter's Furies online. So Kooky Koalas, they make that 4-player stack, they get the first kill. Next thing you know, Kusa's caught in the lurk. It all plays into their hand perfectly. Now it's their full buy, though, or more or less a bonus round, is really the only person that's gone deep into their pocket is Screwface on the operator.
Screwface up. 4 rounds in, but that's actually what we saw on Icebox earlier. He was very keen on getting that jet op going as soon as possible, and it looks like the rest of the Kooky Koalas, they very much trust the dynamic. Let's see what he can pull off, though. You still have Kusta over in the corner mid, but the rest of Gen G starting to make their way up. Low util, but it's just Kusta making a whole lot of noise, keeping the default formation for Kooky Koalas inbound.
What a fake Screwface.
Oh, no. You gotta be kidding me. Screwface almost got the pick onto Kusta. Now he has space. Harmon Bucky now? What on earth is going on? Screwface trying to rush on too. He's battle hopping at the moment. There's one behind the smoke. Could certainly take him down. That's Michael. 3v3 now, Sully.
There is a flank, and I think they've actually even TP'd through Anderson in such a prime position. He's right behind them. He hasn't taken the peek just yet. Kooky Koalas have full control of this site. Kusa comes out of nowhere, going for a double. It's Kusa that's gone big. It's up to Anderson now. He has the flank. They've got no knowledge, but his knife is out, and his body's in a grave. Gen G pick up a third. Kooky Koalas, everything invested into that round, and for nothing. Gen G pick up the third.
That's gotta hurt. Again, Kusta. We mentioned earlier that he was in a battle with Screwface, a battle of tug of war for the B site, and Screwface decides to rotate on over. He thought that he had cleared out the mid side. You mentioned a little bit of a fake in terms of movement, but nothing really went down from it. Instead, Kusta, he took full control of the B site, snuck his way into heaven, and drops down and drops the rest of the players for the Kooky Koalas. I mean, just that play in itself is huge. But for Gen G, their scattered take was almost broken down, but it was good usage of, I guess you could say, the recon bolts, or just the recon abilities, period.
Yeah, it does look like we have a slight tack pause. Surprisingly, Gen G doesn't look like they're putting too much focus towards this A side to disable or prohibit Screwface from getting onto that Blade Storm. He's only 5 of 6, so makes sense why he ended up buying the op in the last. But if that's going to be a problem with Kusa just lurking up mid every single time, Kooky Koalas are not going to have a fun time, because the key focus on this map of Haven is having mid control. If you can control the B site, you can control every single rotation. It's going to be so much more difficult for the defenders to transition back through defender spawn, wrapping all the way around just to get the C site. And if Kusa can be that thorn in their side, controlling the B bomb site, preventing rotations, Kooky Koalas are going to have a rough time at it. And I think the goal here is to try and put an end to it and see what they can do. It does look like they're leaving the B site relatively open. That also is because they're trying to get Screwface onto the Blade Storm to at least equate him to a rifle now.
Well, that's a good way to put it. A thorn in their side, considering the fact that a lot of the players from Kooky Koalas and Gen G, they do tend to actually go for a couple of lurks here and there. And seeing the Cypher really go for it is a bit of a change. But folks, we are waiting up a little bit, and we can talk about what has been an incredible tournament thus far. The VCT upper bracket is about to shut down, Sully, over on the A stream. NRG might be able to rack on a couple of rounds.
Yeah, that NRG 100 Thieves game, that first map going 17 to 15. Well, isn't this just lovely? This gets me flashbacks.
They do be,
you know that
vibing.
You know that scene in Nemo where they're like, one of us,
one of us.
Yeah, that's what this is. They worship they worship this bear.
Oh,
the bear's
man.
gone. That's just tragic. Yeah, the bear's one more. Nope. Okay, we're going back to what's going on elsewhere in terms of the VCT bracket. That 100 Thieves NRG game, I believe, is still going on our mainstream Nerd Street gamers. I think the first map ended up going 17-15 with a recent addition of Ethan. They say that you can take Ethan out of CS, but you can't take the CS out of Ethan. At least that's what everyone's tweeting. So that game is explosive, and to be honest, it's so saddening to think that of the 8 teams, 4 of them, or apologies, 2 of them have to go home, and one of those could be KOALAS or GENG. So, I mean, speaking of intense games, we're obviously going to get one here, and unfortunately, it's interrupted by a rude tech pause.
Yeah, quite rude indeed. But, I mean, you mentioned the KOALAS, right? It's quite the story to see a team that is unsigned make it to one of these Riot-sponsored events, these Riot-sanctioned events, and I don't know what to tell you, Sully. The KOALAS, they've made their own moves, you know, individually. They've been ranking the entire time. Although Screwface, he still holds on to the fact that he only reached like a pinnacle of like 2K, 2000 in the Radiant boards, and he was still the highest ACS in the open qualifiers. But ladies and gentlemen, on top of the fact that we were just talking about NRG has actually taken map number 2 over 100 Thieves. That's turning into a banger.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, with the addition of Android and whatnot for the NRG, the slight agent changes they've made with Sam on the Omen, who has been looking good on the Omen recently. I mean, NRG are looking like a menace, and 100 Thieves with the addition of Ethan, it was always going to be a bumpy ride. So I'm curious to see or know how that game's going to go going into a third map. That one is going to go down to the wire. But we can jump back to the KOALAS topic, and I kind of want to dive maybe a little bit deeper into this lineup while we have a couple of seconds before we jump back into it. You talk about Screwface, but I want to look over at maybe their IGL, Anderson, who most of you might know from Slimy Boogerman. He's got a plethora of experiences, so I think overall KOALAS have a phenomenal lineup that can really go deep, and that's why I think this best of 3 could be indeed very, very close.
Let's see if the experience can match up to GENG. GENG early on. Quick and easy take of the B site. The KOALAS, they leave it wide open.
Oh, yeah, they use that run it back to get into the site, so the Hunter's Fury doesn't end up actually connecting onto Sean. They don't have really any control towards Garage. However, 2 players are going to be watching it. Maybe now even a third with GMD making that rotation. Space made by Screwface, but it is so close in this B site. He's looking for something. GMD finds the first, however, and things are getting chaotic now.
Oh, no. Screwface looking like win from just the game before, but oh, the combo! GMD has his back. Win gets the pick back, and GMD closes it out at the end of things. That was looking very detrimental to the mid hold of GENG. But both GMD and Win, they both had their spots. They committed to it. Screwface and Cubby had no chance.
Yeah, it is so difficult if you can't get that first pick going if you're the defender side to retake the B bomb site. GENG do a really good job. They focus their attention to Garage. They have full faith in Win that he's going to hit his shots playing that post-plant position. And now KOALAS back to their tried and true eco round. It's going to be 4 Sheriffs and a Bucky. Not really much going on for them so far. 4-1 down. And GENG, they're building up so much momentum, but even furthermore, their economy is starting to skyrocket. And that's the scary thing on the attack, is once you get the ball rolling, it's almost so impossible to stop it. But Ainge does drop 1. Down goes Sean. And perhaps a rifle can be picked up from that, but it is going to be heavily contested.
Screwface. 1 pump, 145 damage. Kusta does not go down, however, survives with 5. Now the rest of the KOALAS looking for a couple of picks back, and it's actually Dim Sum Boys solo on C. Cheeky pick over towards Long. But the rest of the players for GENG, they stack up that same place. Harmon. Again, we talk about like a cult-like effect from earlier, right? One of us. It's the Buckies this time, but Bogdan's Law comes into effect. 5 HP on Kusta. He holds on at least to the operator for now. The KOALAS, they've abandoned the site. And Dim Sum Boy could be able to find something over towards Long. There you go. Just a body shot. Oh, Dim Sum Boy stacks up 2. And now it's a 1-on-1. Win lines up the shot, but Harmon takes him back. KOALAS takes their time after the technical pause. In GENG, they lose out on the main advantage on a buy round.
That is the second time GENG have lost to an eco. KOALAS. That is some absurd skeet shooting here from Dim Sum Boy.
Unreal.
The second flick is crazy. And then Harmon, just to finish it off, it had to be KOALAS round. Dim Sum Boy doing God's work in that one. Now, GENG, they had the ball rolling. It was in their hand, and now they've just dropped it, and KOALAS have picked it up. They're running for the net here as GENG. Their economy is hurting from that one. Harmon going to send out an early recon bolt. Not going to get too much info. He doesn't actually get much from that. So GENG are playing a very slow burst onto this A site. GMD, look at this positioning that he's got. He's going to try and force them back here. He maintains heaven, so they don't need to commit a second smoke, and they've got control of the site now.
This could be fun. Screwface takes back Michael. That's full A-side coverage, but Ainge, he's still fighting over towards the mid-side, and it's Anderson to try to clean it up. KOALAS in a two-man advantage. They got a retake, and they have a whole lot of util to do so. They do have the neural theft. He's trying to take back at least these positions. Screwface already on the front line. For at least a corner on short, but with a smoke out too, a paranoia lineup actually does connect. Ainge gets the kill back, one more on site. GMD, at least a two-man lineup, but can't capitalize on the second. That's KOALAS with a third round.
Yeah, very cheeky from Screwface to dart or to peek in and then immediately dash back on out to find themselves an early 5 versus 4 to throw GENG in a whirl of confusion. They lose heaven control because then GMD has to drop on down. So KOALAS, it's a very clean retake to get the third. And now GENG, economic turmoil is a way to put it lightly. They'll have a couple of hero rifles. They won't necessarily have too much to go with in this one. A couple players having to jump down onto pistols, but it will be Coin who does have the blade storm. So the buy isn't going to be fruitless. They will have something going forward, and KOALAS, we'll see if they can nullify it. Again, we spoke about Huyn and how good he can be at closing the gap, and with these knives, the right click potential shut down Screwface before he can get going. I think that's the biggest threat. Both him and Ainge, Screwface and Ainge, are progressing down towards middle. They've already got so much ground. I don't even know if GENG are aware of it.
Not just yet, but and they do have a plan for this. Tripwires. Bring up the side. Huyn's going to take one away, but they know the garage was already taken. Anderson and Screwface stacking up over in garage, but Anderson goes away, and that's immediately the timing from Huyn. Capitalizing off the take, the tripwire connects. It's a wasted updraft, but not exactly the take. Screwface up front? Are you kidding me? Pulls out the frenzy, gets a kill to win, gets the prime Vandal, and the primer works in his favor. Harmon gets the last. The KOALAS going nuts right now, but more specifically, Screwface. What was that?
He has been the X factor for KOALAS. I don't think there's any other way we can put it. I mean, this dude, when he wants to, will just run in your face and just demolish you. Like, look at this. Picks up the Vandal, spinning around, just looking for this fifth player. It's absurd that Screwface is given the space to do that. He opens things up cleanly with the operator, and it's unfortunate that Huyn can't close the gap. He's left clicking all around. I thought for sure the right click was down to come out, and KOALAS don't know how to get the fourth here. GENG have been looking good on these exits, but KOALAS, their retakes are on point right now. Once more, they give up the control in towards garage, and GENG, they've got trips, they've got cages, but the site is now GENG's. Now, how does the retake work? Because Huyn is still up close, and he's got a good position, but Anderson reads it, and he's gained the man advantage. Hunter series both sides, and one's now been used to the KOALAS.
Anderson again and again with some real good reads thus far. It's another one that works out in their favor, but this time it's full control. But that tripwire is massive through the wall. Anderson's able to get the ping. 1000% Screwface has got to die there, but that's a very worthy sacrifice. He's corralled 2 players towards that garage side. All 3 actually maintaining that position. That's a little bit tough. Nobody in long actually watching the cross, but even then, the KOALAS, they took it step by step. And GENG, I would like to say that at least they had the right idea. It looks like every round that they were able to get a really fast take onto, if I'm not mistaken, 3 thus far, they've succeeded in actually getting that bomb down almost immediately. But still off that post plan, that's the tricky part.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing right now is that once GENG kind of figure out what they want to do on these post plans, because they've been so good at getting onto the sites. I mean, C has been open relatively easily by KOALAS. They've let them onto the site 2 times now here as GENG. It was just an eco, so we'll see if maybe they can adapt and try and stave off the retake from KOALAS, which has been the biggest threat. Once more, KOALAS leaving no one towards this C side. It's Sean who does open things up. They're putting a lot of pressure on these players mid. Finding the first frag at the Ainge. Screwface taking a bullet to the head now. As GENG with 3 ults lined up have got everything they need to make an execution work.
Harmon getting pinged out. There's 2 players over towards the long side, the GENG side.
Joke's over.
All 5 of them are grouped up. Paranoia combo over in short. There's nobody actually there. Smoke in the back. Recon dart to try to clear out heaven. There's not a singular person for the KOALAS trying to hold this one down. The TP from Anderson for a fast rotate. And GENG, they have a man advantage off of this post plant. There's not a singular player off the flank, but that smoke is massive. And Screwface, he gets overwhelmed by the molly. Great usage of the hot hands, and Sean is going nuts. He actually wants to go for some more. Going through the cage, full flash. Dim Sum Boy, 180s while full flash actually gets the kill back, but now it's a 2-on-4.
Oh, yeah, and look at these smokes from Quinn. This is going to be so annoying to deal with here. KOALAS, great one away from Quinn to allow his teammate, and then a second smoke, and then a third now from the Omen, the dark cover going down. Yeah, it's a rough one here for Harmon. GENG, there's that execution. The 2 space makers, Quinn and Sean, run it back in the dash on forward. That's what it takes. Well, that's what you're going to need. KOALAS will allow things to be evened up here as GENG keep 4 players alive, and the economy for now should be nice and dandy. Sean, the only one that's going to need to drop here is KOALAS. Their economy built up. This is a very pivotal round specifically for GENG. If they lose this, it's not going to be the best investments, at least in particular for Sean. But I don't think we're going to see any real pistols going into the last round of the half.
No, we're not. I think both teams, they have just about the right amount of economy just to kind of stack up for these next 2. No issues. I think the biggest problem is going to have to be the battle for ultis, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Battle for orbs. KOALAS, they have nothing to work with at all. They only have Screwface with the Bladestorm out. The rest of the players in terms of ult points are just about 3-2. So GENG do have quite a bit of, I guess you could say, versatility for the next few. But that's just semantics. They can make their way on site using brute force. They'll be more than glad to do so. Oh, GMD, that TP is huge, but Anderson still able to get the frag back. There goes a second back for him. Dim Sum Boy from up top, but that's Sean with a spam, and it's well placed.
Risky TP from GMD to land himself under heaven. Great clear from Anderson, like you mentioned. The Owl Drone, this is really good post-plant utility, though, here from GENG, right? The Hunter's Fury to back up on, but Michael's not leaving the site just yet. Recon Bolt, and now he's going to fade away. Sean with a big kill. Hunter's Fury out, and now I think KOALAS might have to think about saving here.
Oh, never mind. There goes the crossfire. Like you said, thinking about saving, but they had that time before. One by one, the players started to commit. Now it's Ainge that actually got pinged out by the Hunter's Fury. And around on a 1v3. Looking out for a couple of players in terms of exits. Actually going to be able to find one. That's great. Well done. At least 2 more players remaining for GENG. They're going to be able to save, potentially spread around their economy. Make that only 1. Sean apparently dying out to the spike blowing up. With the KOALAS, this one's important as they do have that op back. Screwface gets it. He did use up the knives, which is a little bit detrimental. I don't see any ultis being used up for the squad. GENG used a whole lot of them. But this next round again, GENG, this is going to be a little bit tough.
Yeah, I think they're going to try and force Sean to get this ult orb towards C. Now, KOALAS haven't made that read. They're, again, just playing the retake on the C side. GENG have been reading really intently as to wherever Screwface is, the Cypher's on that opposite site, so they've been very good at reading what KOALAS have been doing so far. And with the ult orb for free, they spot the Cypher. They know this is the least guarded site now, but look at the space that now KOALAS have taken up. Screwface is being led straight through A main, and rotation's being called back. GENG, they should expect the stack now, as already KOALAS playing this retake. Oh, Kusta catching Anderson completely off guard, puts it now in a 4v5, and with that run it back, Sean can create a whole lot of space in the back.
And Screw is known from this position too, so Kusta can be that thorn in the side. He's sitting up over towards the mid side, and And Screwface needs to find something. He actually wants to group back with his teammate back towards B main. So Kusta, he's going to be remaining on that lurk for a while. Triple long control essentially for GENG. There's only one on site, two on site actually. Michael goes for that first pick. Screwface dashes away. Sean not going to be able to win anything out. Michael instead getting overwhelmed. Still gets one. Screwface with another one back. Double over towards long. No ultis to worry about. It's just util and a whole lot of frags. In we go. Ainge, he actually wants to fight this up early. Win through the smoke. Gets another frag. Win with a second. Make it a third. The smoke barely covers out. And that cloud expires real quickly. GENG with a 7-5 lead going into the second half. They're looking good. They're on fire at the moment. But ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to have to find out what happens in the second half after a very quick break. Welcome on back. The second half between the Kooky Koalas and GENG. Here on Haven about to go down. Sully, what a first half it was.
Yeah, Kooky Koalas definitely had some very good highlight moments on the defense. Their retakes were looking really, really strong. But again, GENG, phenomenal from them. The defaults were amazing. Kooky Koalas definitely struggled just a little bit on those executions. So we'll see what they can get here on the attack. If it's going to be more or less the same, where they can change things up early on, though. A heavy fight, and that's drawn so many rotations already. GENG, 4 players committed towards the A side, 3 on the A site. As Kooky Koalas starting to work their way up towards mid. They do have a trip here, GENG, so they don't have to worry too much. And a cam in the back for the retake. It's a good setup here, but Kusta wants to take an early fight, and he'll be punished for that.
Yeah, good smoke timing too. Might have been inadvertent, but he was pulled out. Screwface, oh my, he's just holding W at that point. Holy. Clears out the rotation from the C side. No, it's only 2 players remaining for GENG. Screwface down to 19 HP, still holding down the angle. No way he gets a kill here. So much damage being done onto Sean. Ainge returns it back. 1v4 for win. 2 players lit. It's very much a detrimental position, though. He only has a singular cloud to use up. And he's got to go quick. He's actually going to use it as a bit of a pivot. Play ring around the Rosie, but actually through the smoke. Dim Sum Boy takes down Win, so that's gonna be a 6th round for the Kooky Koalas. They definitely have a, I guess you could say, an affinity, a love for pistol rounds. This Kooky Koalas team are quite efficient.
Yeah, their pistols have been looking really good, and just great space making from Screwface once more to get in your face, and he really does open up this round, or at least locks it in place with those 2 big kills. So GENG doesn't look like there's going to be any force back, but they are going to fight heavily towards the A side, see what they can get. Dim Sum Boy possibly going to toss a cage for the cross. So GENG, 3 players aimed out towards long. Could get something, but unfortunately, no one's going to make that cross. Now it's Screwface with the Bucky, just charging up this ult and getting some kills. It's 2 for him already, and Huynn's going to get punished because of it. Dim Sum Boy there with the assist, or with the closer, if you will. Sean. Now it's just 1. Not much from this one, as they only went in with classics, and they walk out with nothing. 1 kill is all they're going to find. Screwface with 2 on the Bucky. The spike will go down towards C. Oh, Michael might get something extra. It's Ainge to assist. 7-7. Kooky Koalas tie things up quickly now.
Yeah, that's easy, quick stuff that you expect from a second round conversion. Now the Kooky Koalas, not much of a reinvestment. That's probably the biggest plus out of things. It's actually been a little bit of a constant throughout the games today, where second round conversions have actually kind of turned things to a head in terms of, you know, usually leading into a bonus, but this one is what would be considered like a true bonus, considering the fact that Screwface, he barely even needs to invest. This man has a blade storm.
All right, yeah, this blade storm basically equates to another rifle here. But very early on, it's full A control here for GENG, so Sean's got to be very quick in this rotation. They've got 1 trip to hold and nothing else to keep the line of Kooky Koalas back. Sean looking for a spam, but look at Screwface again. They're actually wrapping to this C site, and he's created once more a whole plethora of space. Spike down, and it's planted here for Garage, and Kooky Koalas, they've got such an advantageous position now. It's Harmon here on the lurk, 3 players around. The trip will be broken by the shock dart. Actually, not even, so JMD's still stuck behind it, and Harmon will get all this information.
Yeah, Harmon, here's the TP. Gonna be able to get 1 onto GMD. Still 1 around the corner. Dim Sum Boy takes him down. Michael now in a 1v5. Make it a 1v3. Good pick back, but Anderson finishes on up. So there you go. The Kooky Koalas. They were a little bit unorthodox in terms of their B take. They actually went for the back plant once again. That's the second time they went for it in just this half alone. But they also took hard garage control at the same time. That's a little bit weirder of a split than what we usually see on Haven, but it was efficient.
Yeah, I mean, it works out for the routing that they go, right, to let Screwface kind of just run it straight to the garage area because he dashes and smokes himself through. He's able to find one immediately onto Kusta. So, I mean, the plant works for the routing that they had, and now GENG is back to an eco round here for them. Orb control once more obtained out towards C long. It's Kooky Koalas that have a very, very heavy focus here. Once more, early dash straight on in for Screwface as JMD will be looking for maybe a late lurk, can maybe pick up a rifle here to get the retake going, do as much damage as possible, but Kusta slipped between the smoke, but no, Harmon straight off the spike plant. He's going to be able to pick up the frag. Now, what else can GENG get from this one? You don't imagine anything here as Dim Sum drawing all the attention and even blinded finds the kill on the GMD.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a tidbit, right? It was nearsighted, so he tried to get as close up as possible to the angle. A little bit of a small quirk that I saw out of that, but other than that, GENG looking for exits at this point. They still have a shorty up at garage. Sean actually takes one back. He has essentially full long control. They're not exactly going to be able to fight that, but Michael now with a shorty be able to get some quick frags, and that's a little bit too wide of an eye. He's not going to be able to get another one. That was point blank right click. And Ainge still survives with 3 HP, and Sean and Lynn don't really think they had much to save up, but they still end up going down. Kooky Koalas with a 9th. Quite a bit of a reinvestment, but a couple of other players were pretty much at max. Not much of a detriment, but GENG is back on a bye.
And GENG have got, again, their 2 most important ults. They've been able to feed Michael and Sean the kills, the ult orbs, whatever they need to get those ults online. That's the big reason why they, I think, wanted to go down to the spike, is so they can get that final charge on their ults, or at least for Sean in particular. So, Hunter Siri and the run it back. So good for the retake here, and so they're just going to run their normal default. Quinn is going to look for something down towards mid. Nothing of interest just yet. So, Kooky Koalas themselves prodding for information, not being given much. Does look like, by the way things are panning out, with no really A long control and hardly anything towards C, it's going to have to be a routing maybe through garage. It's super tricky here because it's kind of deprivation of information right now. GENG have got nothing. Kooky Koalas have nothing. It's just who can get the info first and who can make the rotation or make the right call. And Huynn's already commenting that there is no one towards mid. The late owl drone is stirring something, and I don't even know what Kooky Koalas have planned, but they are edging up towards long. I don't know what info has queued them, but it does look like this has to be an A hit now.
Yeah, interesting work off of that owl drone too. That's just a little bit more information that the Kooky Koalas really have to worry about. They spot that one out, and they assume that they might be at least someone over towards the B side, but this time it's an organized takeover towards the A site. Paranoia goes out, clears out short. There's nobody actually there, but Kusta, that's massive. He reads that plant out perfectly, and now the Kooky Koalas, they have to go for a little bit safer of a plant. They end up succeeding, but that's a man disadvantage. The retake cam is there, and now Harmon actually with the Hunter's Fury. Dim Sum boy going for the rush. Screwface, Anderson, both with frags. Someone was a little bit disoriented, but it doesn't matter. It's GENG that gets left at a disadvantage. There's one trying to flank him. Harmon has to hold on. No, Screwface! He runs into the stack. Now it's a 1-on-2. Not only that, but the molly covering up more time. The defuse going in.
He's got to spam.
Anderson doesn't get the kill. How does GMD even have time to pull off?
Let that one sink in. GMD. There should have been no way he gets that. Oh my gosh, Anderson. The flank is so good, but geez, GMD coming up clutch once more for GENG. I mean, 4 players go down though, so the reinvestment is going to be huge, but rounds are getting close now, and Kooky Koalas themselves are starting to feel the pressure. This round, for both teams economically, is going to be big, and there's going to be a huge fight coming out towards long. There's Michael already, early recon bolt. There's the Lear, and there's the push. Aang just got the info, and GENG aren't budging one bit. They aren't convinced this is going to be a full side take. And they might just be right. They've got the info towards mid. Harmon is keeping them on these rotations because of that owl drone. They know they can re-exec towards mid now. As Quinn has been forced off that angle. TP from Anderson underneath. A dash on in as well. The spike should make its way over for the plant here. It will be planted once more under heaven, but Kus is not going to be able to deny it this time around. 5 versus 5 now, as GENG hoping to get a 9th, and KOALAS is looking for double digits.
There.
Focusing a lot on anti-util. Sean, great lineup for the hot hands. Lines up right in the center of sight, but Ain still clears it out. 3 trying to make their way back from main, but win. Oh, the timing. Makes his way out from long. Dim Sum Boy. What a transfer. Now it's a 2-on-2. Kusta catches Harmon. Still Dim Sum Boy trying to stack up these last two, but it's not going to work out in his favor. Kusta, again, good denial of info, just holding up that short side. And not only that, but again, with that spike being planted in the back of sight, that's one less position where they can really play out that post plant. It's a lot tougher in the KOALAS. They're forced to play out in the back lane, but you got to give it up to win. What a flank.
Yeah, and it's such a difficult position to play at as well. I mean, you give the spike to Anderson, he commits to TP to under heaven, he just plants in the corner, and it wasn't planted for anyone really. No one even went back towards long. So GENG freeing up a 9th here, but again, heavy casualties for both sides. All of KOALAS going down, and 3 for GENG. Money is going to be an issue for these teams until one can finally keep 4 or so alive, or even at least 3. Once more, Screwface to take the space. It's Ainge right behind him. But once more, GENG have read into this. They're not convinced it's going to be a full site take. With that smoke down towards top of C, they know there is a big gap between the 2 smokes that have been dropped, and they need to be sure they can account for it.
Don't see this all too often, really, from either team. It's just an early default, contact default to that. Not able to really find all too much. I do like this from GENG, however, double C, fast rotating garage, and it's up close with the knives too. That thing essentially becomes a shotgun.
That shock dart didn't even go anywhere near one.
Would have been a little bit, but doesn't really matter all too much in the grand scheme of things. Still cam over in the mid side. That could be massive for more info later, but in comes the take on the C site. Paranoia to deny is actually double paranoia going back and forth. Sean with a couple of curveballs, waste both, but still trying to pressure. That's GMD. 2 players in the back lane. It's Kusta taking down Screwface. Now it's a 2-on-3. Ainge searching around the back. Michael now 1v3, making a 1v2. Almost stacks up. Both both Harmon and Ainge, but KOALAS, they put the bodies on the C site, and it works out as they go bit by bit.
Big again from Screwface to make that space for his team, to draw fire and to allow his teammates to get forward, right? He keeps 2 players in the back of defender spawner, at least towards the back of site. And the rest can follow suit for the spike plants, and even the kills even. So GENG down to, again, bare bones of a buy. It's pistols all around. It's not necessarily the best situation you could be in. They're going to look to maybe get these ults up, right? You've already got the run it back. 4 out of 7 from Michael on the Hunter's Fury. Does look like he is going to be able to grab this ult orb. KOALAS, the same Aldrone goes out. That's the 4th time in a row. How do GENG end up reading this? It looks like they're just going to try and stick together. They can maybe get a couple of exits once more. KOALAS economy, it's always going to be fragile, but that last round, keeping 2 players alive isn't really going to be too much of a benefit to them. So site open for free now. Smoke's down. Screwface taking up the space. Cage is out, and the post plants does seem like it's all KOALAS unless GENG can get some crazy flashes, some crazy kills here.
That same lineup for Sean is going to land up over in Cubby. And in comes the quick take, and Anderson was ready for it. Really, everyone ready for it. Look at the crossfires working out in their favor. This time they plant safe, but GENG, they don't exactly have the firepower to fight. The KOALAS take it 1 by 1. They're not exactly blind either. Good counter paranoia right at the entrance of A main. Just like that, it's all over. KOALAS at 11-9, and GENG, they might be staring down the barrel of a loss already if they end up losing this round.
Yeah, and for sure. I mean, the cash is just simply not there. The credits are far too low for GENG to suffice a strong buy going into the next. The loss bonus only toppling out here at 3 after this one if they were to lose it. So It's essentially everything on the line here in map 1, and Screwface with an early dash, but it's Sean to create a lot of space. And Owldrone, though, with that information, Sean is going to get spotted out. They have some ultimates for the retake, but they can't get Michael onto the Hunter's Fury. And with GENG kind of committing heavily towards this A side and still players lurking on C, there is always that chance where they can make that quick exit, especially with Angel on this lurk. But everyone's going to be grouped up towards spawn. They're going to try and let Sean lead themselves on in. Can they get it before the spike goes down? No, spike is free to go. Quinn is holding the cross, so they know that nobody can cross on over. But the thing is that Anderson's made the TP under heaven. They might not be prepared for Anderson's positioning because Quinn was holding that cross.
Oh, Sean, that's huge. No one watching over the corner. Ainge is on the flank, and now it's just down to Anderson in a 1v4. Gonna be able to get one more, so playing around this smoke. There's 3 players looking right onto him. The best thing that he could do is delay time. He was done for. GENG now have a round back. They reach the double digits, and again, they're not denied that economy. That's the most important part, Sully. We talk about W's, of course they're important, but for this one, for the timeline, well, it's just massive.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if that was Anderson's smoke he was sitting under. It's not necessarily the best smoke because it kind of isolates you from the rest of your team, but I mean, not much you can really do if you're KOALAS. It's very, very difficult for Anderson in that position. But GENG bringing it back to within 1. It's the same predicament they were in the last round, where if they end up losing it, economy is going to definitely take a hit. But keeping those 3 players alive will definitely be very beneficial, especially Quinn on the operator. He is so game-changing in these late rounds. If he can find an early pick and send KOALAS reeling, it's going to be massive. Now, GENG, they're not really putting a focus on towards C anymore. It seems like they're kind of understanding that KOALAS' game plan has been just hit towards this A side, try and find an opening and see where they can get going. So GENG, 2 players over here. They have called attack pauses. This is probably, again, one of those situations where you lose this round, you lose the entire map.
It's a tough one. We've been hyping up the Cinderella story this entire time. KOALAS certainly on their way to potentially take back a map. But again, I did like that retake again from GENG. It was a little bit more of those old ideas coming into effect, but this time I did enjoy kind of the isolation. GENG has been having a little bit more of a tough time on that A site, actually going 1 by 1. The last time that they ended up breaking that through was on the flank from Win, but in that point, they just put on the bodies and it just worked out in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with that run it back, it's always going to be so huge because he gives kind of that uplift effect. I feel as though when you have a run it back, you're like, okay, we can throw this body at them, get all the info we need, and then go right behind him as Sean is throwing flashes, curveballs left, right, and over the wall and over the box and default and stuff like that. So it works out in favor of GENG because, again, Sean and Quinn can always make that space, and even on retakes, even those close situations, Sean is able to do it there. So KOALAS, they understand that now they've been able to draw out the run it back. The rounds are definitely going to be maybe a little bit easier on the post plant, but with a Hunter's Fury for Michael, that could be another scary factor that they have to go up against. However, they do have money, I think, for the rest of this regulation time. They shouldn't have to worry about that in any sense.
There.
Not exactly. I did like what you mentioned, though, that run it back, kind of rejuvenating a team, but it's almost like the nature of the ultimate, right? It makes up way more space than you're allowed to. You can be more aggressive. It's one of those fun times that we're not going to see for a while now, but GENG, they still have the Hunter's Fury for what would be this denial of this C site, and he's in a really good position. That's exactly it. Lines up the Hunter's Fury over in the long area. Harmon actually takes back GMD, but Michael with the same Hunter's Fury back onto Harmon. It's a trade of the ultis, and the KOALAS are actually left with a man disadvantage.
Look at Anderson. He's got everyone with their back turned. One for sure. No! Anderson with nothing. It's a flush hand, and he's got nothing to show for KOALAS. That could have been the game-changing round. Nothing to show for, and GENG stopping KOALAS, stopping Anderson in particular. They've got to save. And if you're a GENG, this is a good chance to go hunting, but it doesn't look like they're going to risk the guns they've got themselves. GENG, they escape a near round loss.
Oh my God.
Good heavens, Anderson. That would have been absurd on the 2-piece.
I mean, they wouldn't have had a chance in that round.
Oh, here's the replay.
You know, unless he was in this position. I mean, Anderson just had to go huge in this position, but you know, it is what it is, right? It's just one of those things where, I mean, if Anderson wasn't in that position in the first place, they still would have saved. So I'm not really going to chalk up that round to just that mistake in general, but gosh, that hurts. It really does. But folks, we do have the full buys back. Screwface has a Blade Storm and an op ready, round to go. An op the op. It's Screwface to take back win. But look at Sean's position, trying to go aggressive, and he nails down the first frag, equalizing already. As the Kooky Koalas, they haven't maintained too much position just yet, too much control. GENG, they actually have a 2-man crossfire on what would be the short position. They do get the info. Screwface, oh, he's about to go nuts, isn't he? Dashes on in, trying to find the right click. He's not trying to waste it. There's one in the smoke, but they're all away. Has to go for the lefts, and Michael takes him back. Man disadvantage for the Koalas, but they're all in the short position. They're getting covered up. That smoke is going to help them just a little bit to be able to back on out. And with 55 seconds left, they have more than enough time to do so.
Here's the thing, though, is that when they go back, they've got no idea where Kusta's going to be yet. They had the neural theft online to figure out that Kusta was on an early flank, but now they've got to clear everything out. So the sound drone's going to be expended down towards mid, but it's all a fake. Don't know if the sound cue's been heard. I think it has now been by GMD, so that'll draw him away just for a second. But it's Kusta's cam that's really giving GENG this info to let them know you can play this A site. His cam has got everything in the world. And Kooky Koalas, they don't know that GENG have this information. And there's the first frag. Ainge on the trade, but the recon bolt doesn't reveal. But Ainge just got a third eye. His head is on a swivel. Spike down in a 2v2. And GMD, he's making a solo effort in the 1v1 as Ainge left in the clutch. It's Kusta from above. And GENG find map points after Kooky Koalas were poised to take it.
Yeah, no, you said it exactly that. The Kooky Koalas, they were one round away, one reset away from taking away this map. And GENG, they have rallied back, completely taking this game in their favor. And it comes down really to the control. It comes down to what would be the Kooky Koalas letting off the gas pedal in terms of these aggressive takes. Short was taken up in a very quick amount of time, but GENG, they had the faster rotations. Not only that, but the good counter util, especially the shock darts, just nailing into that short position, getting a lot of that early damage in. The Kooky Koalas, they were corralled back into short, and they were essentially stuck. The rest of the map, they have no control, no eye, no information. GENG, really good job of that depravity, as you mentioned before, of information. But now, the Koalas, they still have a buyback, and they still have a chance, as now they actually want to beam up the B site.
Oh, here's a good work as well, because Sean in the back, this is not a good position for him to be in, because the smokes go down, but he is so good at pivoting around this position. He's already got one. GMD here to the rescue with 2 of his own. He's got 3. And next thing you know, it's Dim Sum Boy. There is a feast to be had in a 1v4. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to go the Kooky Koalas' way as Quinn takes the first map for GENG 13-11.
Wow, wow.